Hi, everybody, and welcome to the inaugural, what we expect to be a series called Making Connections, some conversations amongst the product management team for Connections. I am Adam Gartenberg. I'm one of the product managers for Connections, and I'm here with Rene.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rene Schimmer, also as Adam. Very excited to have you here on this series of conversations that we will be having moving forward around the topic of connections.
Yes, so our whole goal here is to have an informal way to share updates about what's going on in the Connections world, maybe give you a peek behind the scenes of what we're working on or what's coming up, answering questions that might come in or that we frequently get asked and answer one-on-one, but might be helpful for more of you to hear about. We might have some special guests in the future as well. For those that are involved in the connection space, either inside HCL or outside HCL, that we think you might want to hear from. Renee and I were both struggling what to call this because it's not really a podcast because we're not podcasting it. But the goal is something similar, just to, as I said, have a way of sharing what's going on in the connections world. If you have questions you want to ask us, if you have topics you want to hear us talk about, please reach out to us and we'll be glad to include them.
And most importantly, we want to have this in an informal way, right? So a conversation without any strict agenda, even though you see 3 bullet points here. But again, moving forward, if you have any topic that you would want to raise or would have any person from HCL be on this podcast, we're open to any ideas and we'll keep this interactive as much as we can.
Absolutely. So with that, we made some recent announcements. Renee, you want to update us on what we've shared recently?
Absolutely. So there are a couple of things. We're busy working on a number of things. So first of all, in order to focus our effort into the future and moving things forward, we also have to at the same time cut areas that are just not worth keeping around anymore. And old versions are always a thing that we look at, and which are the ones that we can pull out of support because they're, they have been around for a long time and very few, if any, customers are using it. And what we're working on right now is the end of support. That's what EOS stands for, of Connections 5.5. And what's important to note here is that we released it in December of 2015, which these days seems like, ages ago. So more than 7 years, 5.5 has been in support, which is actually beyond the typical 5 years that we guarantee versions like this to be supported. So we have announced 5.5 end of support, which will go in effect, I believe, January of next year. So January 2023. Right. Adam, that's right, correct?
That's right, yeah.
Yep. So if you are still on 5.5, which is pretty unlikely, then we encourage you to start working on a migration plan to get to a newer version. And while you're at it, why not go to Connection 7, right? You want to be on the latest. So speaking of Connection 7, though, we are heads down working on the next version of Connections. And we'll go into a little bit more detail on what's in it when we talk about the preview topic. But I want to make sure that you're all aware, if you're not already, that Connections 8 is the next version that we will release towards the end of this year. And any other topics that we should mention on Connections 8 here?
No, because we'll talk about it a bit more when we go on to the preview.
Right.
Just back on the comment you made before about people upgrading and version 5.5. Was actually looking at some data lately, and for the last 6 months or so, we often use support calls as a proxy for where customers are and the upgrades we're seeing. Half of those calls were for version 7, which is great to see as people move up to the latest version, and close to 80% were on 6.5 CR1 or 7.0 combined. So we're seeing, hopefully those of you out there have already done your upgrade or have it underway now. And as Renee said, start planning if you haven't. We're seeing some customers that have been stuck on really old versions upgrading now to version 7, and it's really encouraging to see. And of course, there are a lot of new capabilities and installed through 6 and 6.5 and 7.
Mhm.
So it's really encouraging to see that we do have our customers out there in the process or already completed those upgrades.
For sure. And maybe one additional note here. It's not just about new features, right? Of course, that is our main focus, to make the product better and better and better. Therefore, adding new features to accomplish that goal. But there's another side to it. If you are on a 7-year-old version, more likely than not, that is running on, what we call non-functional requirements. So there would be underlying components like the database version or the Java version or what have you, right? That on that old or backdating 7 years, we will not be able to support it on underlying components that are in support. And especially in the world of log4js and all other sort of attacks, you kind of have to make sure to stay current, so we can make sure that you have the most recent underlying components running as well to be safe and secure from any potential, security holes.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very good point.
So why don't we start taking a look at what's in aid and talk about the preview a little bit.
Yeah, so the first release of that preview beta is available now. We are hosting it because we want to make it easy for everyone to come try this out, and especially since version 8 is so focused on that user experience, we want to make it available to as many people as possible to come try it out and give us your feedback, rather than requiring you go and have it all ready and have a test server to go install it yourself. So you can go and come try it out. We'll be updating it twice more over the next couple months with additional features as they become available. And if you've already registered for the version 7 preview that we had available for the last year or two, but your account is still active, the same name and password, you can come try it out. If not, we've got the link on here. If you go to hclsw.co, that's just .co/C8PRE, like preview, you can go and register, and we'll get an account set up for you, and you can come try it out. Rene,
That's
you want to
right.
talk a little bit about what's there?
Right, and one thing I want to mention, so like Adam said, if you have been part of the Connection 7 preview, you do have an account already, right? In case you don't remember the password, there is a reset password link, so you don't need to re-register. All that does is that you will get a new invite, but not much else changes. So if you have registered before, go back with that email. Don't remember the password, click on reset the password. And then the first destination that you should go to is the second URL that you see on the screen, which is hclsw.co/c8community. That's a community that we created that gives you some basic information about what it is that is currently within the preview scope, what to look at, what to test, and what things are coming later. Like Adam said, we are doing this in 3 phases, right? March was the first drop a week and a half ago. So with that, we cover areas like the main navigation, the share functionality, and the search. In the next drop, which will be in May, we will then have apps like the forums, the wiki, the blog, community catalog, files, and the profile card updated to be presented in the updated user interface. And then in the third drop around July, we will then update activities, Activities Plus, the moderation capability, the help tours, and the bookmarks app. What that means is if you go to the preview today, right, you start in the community, and you will actually see that community is still displayed in the Connection 7 based UI. But then if you go to the home page, everything switches to the new UI. That is not a fault. That is part of how we roll out the update, right? We have to go through the product and update each individual area to be represented in the new UI. Therefore, you'll see a little bit of switching back and forth. So that's some of the information that you will find in that community. It's called What to Test When. And there's also a welcome message that lays out the basics of what we're doing in the preview. But then I also have to point you to the main, not the main area, but one key element of the preview. We're doing this because we want to have your feedback, right? We don't want to develop something in a vacuum. We want to hear from customers and partners what you think, what you like, what you think could be done better. And in order to facilitate that dialogue, this community also has a forum section, which currently has 5 dedicated forums, one for the homepage, one for search, one for navigation, and so forth. So everything you would like to comment on, something you like, something you see could be better, a bug that you found, you can leave a post there, and we're continuously looking at it, commenting back, and either explaining or taking that and turning that into a ticket in our development system to make sure that if there's something that we can fix and think we should fix, we'll start working on it.
Yeah,
So
especially for a design heavy release like this, there's some things until you actually start using it, it's hard to tell what works or what doesn't work. And things that look good on paper, you start using it and you go, yeah, that icon shouldn't be there. Or we thought we'd simplify things, but it looks like we went too far and we should expand them back out again. And so your feedback and is very valuable in helping us see what looks like it works well for you and what might need to be updated further.
that's right.
So Rene, what are you most excited about for the release and that's out in the preview so far?
Are you asking me which one's my favorite child? There are a lot of good things that you will see coming to the preview. I think there are a couple of areas that will have really big impact, and one area that I feel like we're going to have a big impact on how users can work with that particular feature is the search. The search within Connections has always been pretty powerful, right? You can find pretty much anything, and you can also then apply filters and based on all sorts of things, right? You know you're looking for a file, you know you're looking for a person, you know you can utilize tags, the full text search, and then the algorithm behind it ranking things that are more relevant to you. All that functionality has always been there. What we found was lacking was how we guide the users through the process and make it easy to understand all the features that the search offers, because it is extremely powerful. So we took a completely fresh look at the search, from clicking into the search field, which is now positioned top and center. So it's always there, always prominent, always in the same place, always just a click away. From there to starting to type, seeing quick results, recommendations, to then ultimately finding the search result page, and then on the result page, tweaking the search a little further, applying filters, right? Filtering it by person, filtering it by date. That whole process, to me, is going to be much better than you've seen it in Connection 7 and before. So that I would call out as one key area that I think is going to have a big impact. What about you, Adam? Which one do you think is going to be good?
Well, yes, search I think is huge as well. But the other thing that I really like is the sharing. Right? If you think about some of the fundamental
Oh,
aspects of what you want to do on a platform like Connections, you want to find things and you want to share things. And we're, as you said, we're making it a lot easier to go find the things you're looking for, whether it's just navigating to a specific place or finding a person or community or searching on a specific topic or someone with expertise. But sharing is really critical too, because so much value is lost the minute you copy a URL and drop it into an email or drop it into a chat. Because while it's quick, you're losing, you're coming out of the environment and you're losing some of that network the network value that you get of keeping your collaboration and keeping it inside of connections. I can't tell you how many times I found things I wouldn't have come across otherwise because one of my contacts, my boss, a coworker, um, shared something, commented on something. There's a lot of information out there. A company of any size, and there's only so much that's going to physically cross your path if someone directs it at you specifically. But when you're sharing it in a platform like Connections, you get that network effect going. I can see that you, Renee, commented on someone's blog post that I might not have seen otherwise, or I see that
Right.
there's a new employee that someone welcomed in a status update, and I go, oh, that's good to know. I can go welcome them too. I might, I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to be working with them apparently, right? That I wouldn't have known otherwise. And what we're doing with version 8 is elevating that share capability so that it's much more prominent. It'll be available as part of the top nav bar on every page you're on. And it'll make it very easy to share out the page you're looking at with individuals, with communities. Um, there are a lot of things that up to now have, well, we've missed some of those opportunities, right? So people resort
Mm-hmm.
to things like at mentioning a long list of people in a blog post comment because there wasn't an easy way inside of Connections to just share that post out, right? The right way to do it, just like we do in other social platforms, is you use a share function and it posts it out and notifies people. And that's what we'll have in V8 for Connections as well. Along with not just being able to type in people's names, but a pick list for the people you collaborate with the most, so that they can have that easy checkbox of just going down the list and not having to try to remember off the top of your head who you might
Yep.
want to
Yeah.
share with. We've had requests to be able to share things out to communities to make that easier. I think that's, of course, like everything, we're giving you some control over it because that can, depending on the communities and how you use Connections, that can be exactly what you want. And we have people requesting that. And we know at IBM, when you've got 25 or 50,000 person communities, that can be a little bit overwhelming at times if people start sending things out. But
Right.
on the whole, I think this will really help both information go viral in a good way,
Mm-hmm.
and you keep those conversations inside of Connections where you get that extra value there.
And I think it's all around, on the one hand, driving engagement, right? Because you can
Yep.
pull people in easily to participate in whatever you want to collaborate on. And it kind of bridges the boundaries between you're in connection, somebody else is in another tool. You can easily share it out, bring those people in, and therefore, be successful in getting people together on the right information at the right time. Because I think that's one of the biggest challenge that people are facing now. Everybody working from home, using tools that they haven't used as extensively as before, and information is just getting lost because you either put it in a chat, you put it in an email, and then 3 months later you can't find it, right?
It
And,
happened to me yesterday where I was trying to
mm,
scroll through um, our chat application, trying to find something that I knew someone had shared, and I'm going through all the different conversations. Maybe it was a group or was it individual? And then finally I go, oh,
right,
maybe I saw it in email. And I jumped over to email and went, oh yeah, there it is, right? Those are the
right,
things that really belong in Connections.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So I know we're updating,
very true.
we haven't even mentioned the update to the UI overall. Um,
Here, minor
you
little
know,
thing.
yeah. But that's exciting to see, and hopefully we'll make it easier. One of the goals here is to both modernize it to the type of interface that people are used to seeing, but also just make it easier for new users. We know with an application like this, you get one chance to make a good first impression, and if people see it and they've had trouble finding it, navigating around, they're not going to come back again. And hopefully, we'll be bringing up and releasing a UI that matches the power of Connections. Is there
Yeah,
anything about that's you're excited about?
yeah, absolutely, because we're looking at it from different angles. Like Adam mentioned, we want to have a UI that fits in today's world, right? That is something that looks, or I don't want to say modern, but is presenting something that people see and immediately feel familiar
Yep.
with, because there are concepts that we are introducing that are now basically what everybody likes to work with, right? So you'll see
Oh, so
that
that
in the UI.
consistency. Yeah.
Consistency is then the other thing that we're working on, to making sure that, all these different areas that you have within connections, we knew that there are areas that behave a little different, that look a little different, right? So we are making sure that across all these different areas, we have a consistent look and feel, because that has always been something that people told us, it could be better. So I'm really excited to get to a point where the UI is representing those values almost, if you will. And that's, on the other hand, why we have to roll out the preview in different stages, right? Because this is a process that takes time, like I mentioned earlier,
Mm-hmm.
but the end result will be really good. And then one part that I'm also really happy about is what we call the important to me bar, which, if you used the Orient Me homepage and you've seen that, you know what important to me is. For those of you who haven't seen it, it's a way to pin people and communities that are important to me, hence the name. I can, you know, like I said, if you're in an organization, you have thousands and thousands of communities, but you really have 5 or 10 that you're really active in, you want those at your fingertip, not having to click from here to there to get to the catalog and then find it there and click. No, you want it right there to be able to click on it, jump there, see updates. The same with people, right? Your network is really what's important, especially now that we don't see each other so much in person. Staying on top of your network of people is key. And the important to me bar helps you doing that, because you can pin a person and from there quickly see what that person has updated, have access to that person's wiki or files and whatnot. But on top of that, what is probably even the bigger challenge is finding those people that you don't know. And this is where important to me is leveraging the algorithm behind the scenes, and it makes active recommendations to you. Right? In the important to me bar, you see people bubbles, as we call them, or community bubbles of people or communities that connections, based on what you're doing, things are relevant to you because that person has the same interests, collaborates on similar topics, etc. And then you can look at that, find out, yep, that person is interesting, let's reach out and pin them. So that is now the important to me bar, available everywhere in Connections, not just on the homepage anymore, but everywhere. So everything that's important to you is only a click away.
Yeah, I think even just quickly navigating to the communities, I find that at any given time, there may be 3 or 4 communities that I'm jumping to on a regular basis. And being
Right,
able to have those there and just be able to click and quickly get over to it will be really helpful.
right.
Okay, well, I think,
So one thing that we haven't really planned in the agenda, but I think, Adam, it's probably worth
yeah.
mentioning AHA a little bit. I know we have those
Yes.
more detailed roadmap slides, and you always talk to these 3 slides there. What are we doing there?
So we've
The,
been going through and you've all been very helpful in sending in lots and lots of feedback over the years for things that you'd love to see added to or addressed in Connections. And so in addition to the main features that we've been talking about, there are a number of capabilities that we'll be bringing forward specifically from the AHA suggestions. And these are, that they're smaller in nature, but that doesn't mean they're not important. And just off the top of my head, things like making sure that when you tag someone on the profile page, the cursor stays in the tag. So often you want to add 3 or 4 tags for the person. You don't have to go hit enter, click back in again, type, hit enter, click back in again. It'll just stay there. I know we've expanded the number of characters in the city field or the state field to account for some of those longer names, like especially in for our German customers that you're finding there. But there are a number, maybe that's a topic we can talk about in an upcoming session too, Rene, but we have a number of, there are several pages that we had of items like that that we'll be getting into the V8 release, in addition to kind of the big ticket ones like the new UI and search and sharing and things like that.
exactly. Yep. There's a lot of good work there, and I'm just excited on, just want to drive the point home that your input is
Yep.
very relevant and it is heard, right? For years, we've been collecting ideas in AHA, and there are right around 2,000, which is incredible.
Yeah.
So we really are very thankful for your engagement and continued effort here. And we just want to make sure that we honor that by taking ideas and fitting them into the roadmap. So that's what we're doing on an ongoing basis, and just wanted to mention that. So with that,
Yeah.
I think we have one more thing coming up,
Yeah. We get to get
which
back on a plane
is,
again.
oh my goodness, can you imagine? See people in person. That's right. So this is the Engage event, which is coming up. And this is going to be in person. More detail you can find at engage.ug. It's going to be in Bruges in Belgium, and registrations are open. And we are going to be there with a whole bunch of people, and we are really excited to meet you again if you're coming. Sit down for a chat, and we have a number of presentations. So this is a 3-day event, and hopefully you can make it.
Yeah. As I was just up in, I was on a plane for the first time since COVID started 2 weeks ago or last week. I know, Rene, we'll get to see you soon. We haven't seen each other
Yep.
in person in a couple of years. And yeah, we're lucky to live in an age where we have online tools that can bridge that gap, but it's nice to be in person sometimes too. So hopefully we'll see a lot of you there. Just to close things out here, a couple links that we mentioned before. You can access the Connections 8 preview if you've previously registered, and my guess is if you're listening, a lot of you may have already. The link there is, as Rene mentioned before, hclsw.co/C8community. If you haven't registered yet, we have colleagues you want to share it with, head on over to hclsw.co/C8preview, that's C8pre, P-R-E, those are the number 8. We've also got links here to our YouTube channel, a lot of couple of videos out there showcasing some of the more recent features and other overviews. And with that, I'll bring this page back up. We'd love your feedback. So let us know questions for us, topics you want to have us cover, special guests you'd like us to have on and interview and talk with. You feel free to volunteer yourself if you'd like to join us and have a particular experience with Connections or solutions that you have for it, or just sharing your stories about it. We'd love to have you. We'll be trying to do these at least monthly and get these out there so we can stay connected and give you updates on what's going on as we work towards the release of V8 and then start planning for what comes after that. Those plans are already underway. And yeah, we're looking forward to continuing the conversation. Rene, anything else you want to close with?
Yep. That was a good summary. So thanks again for listening, and we're very much looking forward to your suggestions on what other topics we can cover in the future. And with that in mind, I'll say we'll meet again here in a future issue. Thank you all.
Sounds good. Thanks, Rene. Good talking to you. Thanks everyone for listening.